welcome back. I'm Dr. Mary Ann Shepard with Everyday Behavior, and this is our 6th video in our series this month on group behavior intervention. During this video, we're talking about the steps to implementing a group behavior intervention. And so these steps were modified from Cooper et al., his 2007 book. And so if you want additional information on the resource for this, I'm happy to provide that. But you can also find additional information on our website at www.everydaybehaviors, or you can follow us on Facebook at Everyday Behavior with Dr. Mary Ann. So in your steps to implementing a reward or implementing a group contingency, the first thing you want to do is choose an effective reward. And so what is going to be an effective reward for your group? You want to make sure that your reward is powerful enough. So you really want it to be strong enough to be rewarding. And when possible, you want to use menus because you have a lot of different personalities and a lot of different preferences in the group. And so maybe the group together collectively could decide what their reward would be from a list of options or a menu of rewards. The next thing that you want to do is determine what behavior you want to change and any other behaviors that may be impacted like that. So look at what behaviors is it that you want to decrease. What behaviors do you want to increase? So what are those replacement behaviors? And that is so key and so important. If you haven't watched any of our previous series, go back and look at replacement behaviors. But you're really looking at if you want the students to stop blurting out, what is it that you want them to do instead? If you want your children to stop fighting, what is it you want them to do instead? If you want them to stop being disrespectful, what is it that you want them to do? How do you want them to approach you? What do you want them to say? How can they demonstrate that respect? How can they use those manners? What do you want to see? So really think about your replacement behaviors. Select your appropriate group contingency. So will you use that dependent group contingency? Again, that's kind of your hero procedure. Do you want to use the interdependent, where you're looking at the whole group meeting a criterion, 80% or whatever that is? Or do you want it to be independent, where every group member has an equal chance and is based on their own individual performance? If you want additional information on that, you can go back and watch one of our earlier videos in this series. So then you want to set that appropriate performance criteria. I talked about this in one of the previous videos, but 80% is usually a good goal for behaviors that people are not 100% at. So, showing up to class, that's probably a 100% criteria, but there's always an exception to the rule. Bringing your homework back. Well, you want that to be 100%, but there's always an exception. There's always something that happened to one person in that group that prevents them from being able to bring their homework back. So it may not be that you want to set your criterion at 100%. 80% is a good goal to have because none of us are on task 100% of the time. None of us have a good attitude or share 100% of the time. We all have personal flaws and personal weaknesses and bad moments and failures. And so 80% is a really good criterion to make sure that it's attainable for their participants and to take into account those one-off situations or exceptions to the rule. And then you want to monitor performance of the group. You want to monitor individual performance to make sure that you're really addressing those students that may have more difficulty and that the group isn't just carrying them along, but their individual performance and the performance of all individuals in the group is increasing, because you don't want them to always be the 20%. And so monitor your individual performance, but you also want to monitor the group as a whole and making sure that the whole group is increasing. And so it may be that you change your expectations or your behaviors over time, or you slowly increase that criterion to shape the behavior so that over time, maybe you start at your criterion of 50%, but then as the students and as the group is achieving 50%, maybe you bump it up to 60%. And then once the group is achieving 60%, maybe you bump it up to 70% and 80%. And then maybe you can get to 90%. But it may be for some behaviors, especially your younger kids, or for newer behaviors, that you have to start your criterion at a lower standard and then shape it up. And so if you are interested in shaping, you can watch one of our previous videos on shaping. That was in our skill behavior intervention, our skill deficit or skill increase series a couple of months back. I hope this has sparked some ideas for you. I hope this sets you up for success so that you can go out and implement a group contingency either in your home or with your students in your classroom. Have a wonderful day, and I look forward to seeing you next month.